Hello everyone. So we have gone live on Facebook, and you can search up on profile Hassanuddin, and anyone you want, you can refer the live link to them, and they can join. We'll be just starting in 3 minutes, the accurate time. So just wait for a while, and we'll start the proceedings. It's good to have you all. Good to have all of you here, and especially thanks to our panelists, Farina Siddiqui, who's joining live, Maham Wakani, and Fahim Nadim as well. Just about my team, we are I'll be moderating this discussion with my teammate Ms. Osman. And as you can see, the rest of my team is here as well, including Maha, Ashir, Afa. And we have our fourth panelist as well, Hunan. So we'll just start in 2 minutes. Thank you for your patience. So we'll just the last minute, and we'll start the recording, and just last thing.
I think we can start now. Hunan is here as well.
Yeah, we'll just turn on the recording, and we'll record this to the cloud. Okay, so we are live. Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to you all. I'm your host, Muhammad Hassanuddin, and along with Ms. Osman, I'll be moderating this discussion. Student entrepreneurs starting young. The theme for this particular discussion is how can actually students, while managing their full-time studies, go on and build up their ventures from the scratch and actually progress it and take it to newer heights. Introducing my panel of guests, we have Farina Siddiqui, who is the co-founder of Afrin's Kitchen, and we have Maham Tanveer Wakani, who has Gram Panda PK, a startup that she's been running since her days in A level. We have Hunan Hirji, the co-founder of Commuver Tours, and we have Mr. Fahim Nadeem, who is the founder of Fifth Strategy and Digital Disruption. So basically, we have a diverse set of panel ranging from something that actually requires particular great amount of investment from something that can be started from minimalistic means and from home. So without further ado, I would present the floor to Ms. Bosman to introduce herself, and then we'll start with the panelists.
My name is Misbah Usman, and I'll be co-hosting this panel interview with Hassan. This interview is for my course Entrepreneurship, and my group members are Maha and Afaq.
All right. Before we get into the gist of the things, we'll hand over the floor to Hunan. So Hunan, can you please tell us about the story of Commuver Tours and run through it?
So, my name is Mohammed Hunain, and I'm a co-founder at Commuver Tours. Basically, this is a travel company and a tour agency, you can call it. And the idea of this is to provide quality and timely commitments to the clients, which is something that we saw was lacking in Pakistan, and we thought it was pretty easy to provide it. So the idea came up when we were traveling solo with our friends or without any help of any tour agency, and we saw that keeping up the time and keeping up the commitment is not actually a difficult task if you put in a proper amount of money and proper amount of time in planning and making proper contacts in the area.
All right, that's impressive, Hunan. So Hunan, when you were traveling, I guess you started back in January 2020, right? So when you were traveling
2019.
throughout 2019, okay. So when you were traveling through, so what actually, as Afaq told me that you are currently a fourth year student at JPMC.
Yeah, I will be going into the 4th year at Jinnah Sindh Medical University.
So how so like even when in the field that is जहाँ पे entrepreneurship यहाँ पे business mindset इतना वो नहीं cultivate किया जाता medical field, right? So how did you actually gather up the idea and the courage, gather up the resources and the courage to actually, you know, let's do something different, let's diversify my portfolio. I'm a medical student and I'll actually run a travel agency.
Okay, so basically what happened was before I went into medicine, before I decided I wanted to go in medicine, I've been always been exposed toward business by my father, and he used to do a rent-a-car business, and he always made me he always made me talk with the clients. He always made me bring in business. So that gave me a lot of exposure from the start. Although most of my family belongs to a corporate world and banking and everything. So the idea of traveling came in when I started going out for medical camps through an NGO at my college. And I saw that it was pretty easy for me to manage time and scout locations and talk with people. Basically, traveling is all about how you talk with the community there, how you talk with the vendors, how you keep everyone on the same page, and how you communicate well with every single aspect of the tour. Then I graduated from Nixer and I came to Jinnah, and I saw that doing medicine is a pretty hardworking and pretty, mentally invested in the education, right? So I wanted an escape. I wanted to find a place where I could relax, I could de-stress myself. So first I went to different places, then I went to Lahore and Islamabad and Kashmir with my friends. So I decided that, okay, life should not only be about studying, it should also be about traveling, doing good work. Since I was socially also very active, I was also very active in my college. So I decided it would be easier to start it up right now.
So basically, that's what I can infer is that your passion and the extracurriculars actually gave you the courage in order to, you know, go up and hit big and actually start it off. That's quite
Exactly.
impressive. That's quite impressive. So communication is the key, and that's really impressive. Our profile. Next on, Miss Farina Siddiqui, our friend's kitchen, a regular customer. I myself, I'm a loyal customer of yours. How did you actually, you told me that you actually went to Karachi eat and there was this food panda stall where you actually came up with the idea, you know what, mother, let's just give it a try. And here you are, to the extent that you are actually refusing my orders as well. So that's let's take it as a sign of encouragement that you have been doing very well. So Ms. Farina, please take over.
Yeah, the idea of Afreen's Kitchen developed from last year's January Karachi Eat. So basically, there was just a small stall of Food Panda over there that was recruiting home chefs. So we decided to register on that because my mom cooks really nice food. So we just decided to use that skill to just start off with a business. And in March, finally, it's like we started, the Food Panda team contacted us, and then we went through the registration process, and then we started off on Food Panda. So basically, just before lockdown, we had started our business. Okay. So when COVID cases started coming in, and we heard that now it's shutting down time, so we got a little bit upset. But then when lockdown was lifted in April, then we started again. And then from that onwards, we stopped delivering through Food Panda, and we hired our own delivery guy, and we started delivering all over Karachi.
So if I'm not wrong, so your mother cooks the food and you are the one who's handling the logistics and the procurement and taking the orders and the delivery man as well.
Yeah, my mom is the chef, and I manage the social media accounts, the graphic designing, the posters, the photography, the editing, and everything.
Let me tell you, Farina is when we posted all rounder for Farina. Farina actually is an all rounder. Everyone has indoors. I can even see Musab in the audience. He can actually particularly indoors. Rabia Sarkhan is making a clap for you. Clap for Farina. She's actually pretty good at graphic designing and photography and managing social media. Maham Wakani, someone who I've known since the second semester. So Maham, Glam Panda PK, makeup imported from the US, dollar rate, exchange rates, fluctuations, and all of that. It's quite a hectic thing, right?
It is.
So, like, how did you started back in A levels? The idea of articulated in A levels. So how did you actually how has been the journey so far to this particular point in time? Saturday 6.
So basically, Glam Panda was never supposed to be something that we had to import from USA. We honestly thought that we're just going to import mobile phone covers and iPod covers and all of that from Alibaba or like such places, AliExpress, and then we're going to sell that online. But then I was just and all. So he was like, okay, I'd love to be a partner. And I what? My brother lives in Dubai. He can buy from Sephora. We can sell it over here. That has a better margin. I was like, okay, that can work. But then when I compared prices with that of the US, we saw that the selling price was actually the cost which we were getting from Dubai. So then I was like, okay, I have a cousin who lives in USA. Let me talk to him. Maybe that's going to work out. So initially, the idea of importing makeup and skincare was my partners, but I was the source who actually ordered. So that's how Glam Panda actually became what it is today.
All right. Last and not the least, Don Fahim. So, Mr. Fahim Nadeem, I have someone who's I've known for since the first semester, and one of our boys group, one of our own, Mr. Fahim.
So thank you, Hassan, for having me, first of all. So basically, if we talk about the idea of my business, back in my sophomore year, I was helping a friend with, this a shoot. This was the shoot of Humor going on. I was helping a friend over there. And from there, I got the idea, okay, why not go with something like, as common as this. People look for something unique, when we talk about starting a business, we talk about capturing a market gap, right? But my business was a very, when you look at agencies, you find a lot of them in the market, and you don't see such, such a gap over there. But it's like it comes all down to your networking and your how you connect with people. So it was hard. It was hard. Let me tell you that, but it was worth it when we started back in the day.
So this, so I know you. I remember you discussing this particular idea with me back in 2018 as well, right? So since that day when you actually started off with the idea to this particular day, even now, if I'm not wrong, you are in Lahore and you're actually meeting a client, a potential client after this meeting. So how has it been so far?
Yeah, it has been stressful so far. Let me tell you that, because nothing comes easy. But as I said earlier, it was worth it. And yes, there are a lot of meetings, and managing it with your academics is always, a challenging task. But again, it is something, it's something like you should, you would go for if you know the perks of it.
All right. No, एक सवाल जो बच्चों के दिमाग में आता है यार कि चलो यार एक बिजनेस तो करना है आगे जाके। लोगों का होता है ना अक्सर कि यार बिजनेस करने जाते हैं आगे। चलें, लेकिन अब 4 साल की डिग्री आ गई, चलें ए लेवल में आ गए, ए लेवल के 2 साल और फिर 4 साल की डिग्री। अब 4 साल की डिग्री में ऐसा है यार कि यार पढ़ेंगे कब, तो बिजनेस कब करेंगे यार, जीपीए चाहिए यार, मैं पढ़ाई करूंगा सिर्फ यार, नहीं मैं उसके बाद ही करूंगा। आखिर में people opt for jobs and then they actually start, but then here are you, the 4 of you actually managing it as full-time students. 3 of you at IBA, you know what the rigor of IBA is, and then we have Nan in medical. As a full-time student, how do you actually allocate resources with time resources? I'm talking about time resources, attending university and at the same time attending clients and attending orders and attending, logistics and supply chain of your own businesses.
Okay, so basically the idea of organizing is the main part of my whole life. It's just that you have to organize when you have to study and when you have to travel. So whenever there is this concept in my mind, whenever I have to study, I go into a very deep study mode, and I set my time that before 15 days before the exams, I have to study like there's nothing in my life, anything else. I just go off social media, I go off everything, and I just do that. Apart from that, weekly routine is like I give 2 to 3 days for studies, and other than that, I leave out all of the time for basically clients and business and traveling. I don't personally, and initially I used to travel a lot with the business, but now I only take the trips that I know could be only handled by me, or I have to scout someplace. So this is how I organize my whole thing. So when I have to study, I have to study, and when I have to do business, then I don't see if it's night or it's morning. I have to just do the business.
That's when you mean business, right? So then, do you have a team who handles it, or is it you all alone?
No, I have a pretty big team. I have basically I'm the logistics head in the company, and I have Nawal Amir, who is actually the general manager, who is also a co-founder of this company. So basically, she manages all the whole of the organization. She manages who does what task, and I communicate with her what my people are doing. And with me, there is Afaq Ahmed, who is also in this meeting. He's also a teammate in this team. Plus, there are Ibrahim, Rahman Gol, Musa, Ravia Amir, who is actually also from my university. And then we have an accountant on board, which is Raviza Atwani, who is actually in her last year of chartered accountancy. So we have a whole team set up, and we have extended team members too, plus a lot of vendors working with us. So it's pretty well organized considering a small business.
All right, and I hope you plan to expand it in the future as well once you graduate.
Definitely, this is basically whenever you start a business, you should always think long term. You should always have a business model which should extend until 15 years.
15 years, that's pretty long term. Misbah, you want to add something?
Yeah, so I wanted to ask that how long before you started expanding your team? Like, did you start off with this big team, or shuru mein, who were the initial members, and at what point did you realize that you needed an accountant and more members on your team?
Okay, so basically, when I started off a team, me and my initial partner Nawal, we thought of everything. We planned out everything, how accounts are going to be managed, who's going to do marketing. So we actually started off with a big team. We took in lesser partners, but we took in more teammates who were looking for experience, who were looking for exposure and everything. So this is how we started. So that from the day one, we stayed organized. We had our own files, all own access to the finances and everything.
Strong enough profile, that is okay. Mr. Fahim. So let me tell you one thing about Mr. Fahim. Not only is he managing the business, so as a group of boys, we actually took part in a cricket tournament in 2019, and Fahim captained that particular team to the finals of the event. So you have another all-rounder there who's actually managing a business at the same time. He actually led a team to the finals of an IPL football cricket tournament. So Mr. Fahim, along with full-time studies as a full-time student, how has it been along? Has it been stressing, or has it been something that you've been enjoying?
I think about the cricket, I think we need to give the credit to the boys over there. But yes, it is true. It is very challenging managing your academics with the business. When you run a full-time business, you have a lot of things to look after, especially when you're in your in the developing age of the business. So basically, it is challenging. But the online thing has helped a lot. If you ask me. And the COVID part, I mean, it's been a disaster, but it has been somewhat positive as well when it shifted to online, because but again, studies, assignments, and everything, that is a big challenge that we still need to we cannot overcome that challenge, but yeah, we need to live with it.
We'll talk about COVID in a while, but Fahim, you have established a very good office in Karachi, right? And so how has your team been coming along with you? So I've seen some people who are actually accompanying you on business trips. So how about the team?
Okay, so basically, I started off back with a room in the CED, the Aman CED. I started off with there. I then expanded into a building in PSHS after 3 to 4 months. and the team is coming along pretty well. But again, as I said, that we need to give credit where it's due, and my team, they have helped a lot in building this business and bringing it here to where it is today. So the team, if we talk about the team structure, we have different departments. We have a whole creative department, we have a whole designing department, we have a finance department, and then we have our we don't currently we're not doing any business development. That is totally up to me right now, through my networks, through my connections. So this is like roughly the org chart of the business.
So the team that you have gathered, so you have known them before. So did you know them before, or were they just new hires
No,
who
no.
hired?
So all right. So since I think we discussed it before about the degree and everything, but after starting this business and this venture, and after hiring people, after interviewing many people for the for the positions, I have seen that skills that those matter a lot besides the degree. I have people who don't have a valid degree, but they are very skillful, and they have proven themselves at many points, So I think that is the point where, and no, I don't know all of them. I have hired them from different universities. I have people working from Indus Valley. I have people from ICRA. I have people who are doing, something private, like the finance guy. He's doing something private. So yeah, it's a mixture of people. I think they're very talented people.
Talented people, talented minds, and Mr. Fahim is all the ones who's leading. Ms. Farina Siddiqui, ACF, third year, Dean's Lister, freelance, a freelancer and co-founder of Afi's Kitchen, currently managing an internship and friends as well, a good friend circle, mashallah. How has it been going for you?
It has been challenging. Like, of course, they're managing so many things at once is really hard. So the main thing that I lose during this is my sleep. Because I go for university in the morning, work during university hours for the job I'm working at, and then coming back home and then managing other work to do, and designing different things. And then when midterms are coming up, so have to be ahead of time. So already starting off doing the stuff that is needed for that week. So,
So,
yeah, what are you saying?
yeah, I was just continuing, just appreciating this. Continue.
Yeah, so the anniversary is coming up, our first anniversary. So have to design stuff for that and making small cards for it. So it's already in process, because I have to study.
So I hope I'm getting an anniversary discount, right? Don't worry about that, inshallah. So hmm,
So you talked about that you do the designing and creative social media management. So is that something you learned over here in IBA in your courses, or is it like your own interest?
I did not learn this at IBA. So basically, when in semester one, the society applications opened, so I wanted to be a part of those societies. So I just started off on YouTube, learning Photoshop, the basics, and then over time I got good with it. And then in my second year of universities, I got some really good graphic designing opportunities that were proper internships, and then now I'm working at a place as a proper employee.
That's very interesting.
fair enough on your part, Farina. Maham Bakani. So we have Miss Maham Tanveer Bakani, who's actually managing the entire thing alone with a friend. So Maham dealing with all of those fluctuating exchange rates. We actually started off at a time when probably we can say that the growth rate of Pakistani economy actually started to decline. And so therefore there's a fluctuation of exchange rate. So that actually ends up affecting your business, right? But how have you been coping it up with? Let me tell you, Maham Bakani a regular badminton player. You can actually challenge her to badminton, and she gave you a tough time. She is actually quite an extrovert person, and she's managing her friends on time as well, along with being an Isaacer whilst managing her studies. and Glam Panda PK. So Maham, how has it been so far as managing in parallel with the full-time student thing?
I'm not gonna lie, it has been really hard. So I became a part of Isaac in November 2020. So that is still a new role for me, and I'm still learning a lot about it. But if I'm being honest, it takes up most of my day. Even if I want not to give it a lot of time, I can't help it because there are like just so many responsibilities once you're an Isaacer. So when you asked about the exchange rates, there have been a lot of fluctuations, and I wish there weren't, because when you're importing, a majority chunk of your cost is related to exchange rates. My shipment charges, my taxes, because we also pay import taxes. The duties are in US dollars, so all of that is affected by exchange rates. When I started Glam Panda PK, the dollar rate was around 115, 120. And now the highest which has been I think around 168 or 170. So that's like a huge change of rupees 50 per dollar, and that is literally like are your par, how they say to no do for a business. Because when you're a startup and you have such high costs, you need to realize if it's worth it or not. And during this entire 3 years, I would say that there have been times when I along with my partner, we had discussions of if it's better to just shut it down because there were a lot of costs which were being incurred. There were a lot of theft which happened during the custom duties and the offices. So with all of that, we had to take a lot of chances and a lot of decisions. So about my time, it has been really tough. If I talk about my schedule currently, it's I take my classes from 8:30 to 1. Then from 1 to 3, I have my Isaac work. Then I also give tuitions at home. That goes from 3 to 7. And then at 7, I have another class which ends at like around 9. And then at 9, I have to give some time to my startup. So basically, my family just looks at me and they're like, it's just you, your laptop, and your room. You don't even come outside. We don't see you anymore. So that's, I think, a drawback of getting into too many things together. But when I just think about how much I'm doing right now and how much I've achieved at such an age, even if my parents think about that, they're like, we know you don't give us time, but when we see what you're doing, we're proud of you. And I think at the end of the day, that's what's worth it.
Well, fair enough on that. So one thing that I can actually infer from the discussions of all four of you is we have some sleepless entrepreneurs with us right now. So claps for you all, four of you, to actually being able to manage all of this. So yet, बात ये कि as a student, अब एक होता है ना parents का when you start, so everyone is like there are people who are playing devil's advocate and there are people who are like kind of telling you discouraging कि यार let's पढ़ाई कर लो डिग्री कर लो उसके बाद करना यार अभी किस तरह मैनेज करोगे यार सपोर्ट कौन करेगा यार फाइनेंसेस कौन लेगा with respect to the financial aspect how easy or how difficult was it to pool in resources for the thing that you're doing right now? I know it could be difficult, it could be quite hard, it could be quite something that is quite laboring and quite difficult, but then again you guys are standing here, and how has been the financial aspect of when you were actually starting this particular thing come along with you? Anyone can start. Let's start go with Fahim. So Fahim, go.
Okay. So basically, when I started back in the day, it was without any finances. It was basically through networking. I had my first project. I was paid the amount for that, and through that, I had to finance my first space at the IEBA, and that is how I gathered the resources. Through doing projects one after one. But as you said, it is actually very hard to gather finances and financials when you are starting a business. And about the people, about the devils, there are many and there are still many, but you need to keep pushing through to make it big, and I think that is what only counts.
All right, Mr. Hanan.
So the financial part was actually something that was a very big concern at the start of the business, because when you start a travel company, basically you require equipment. Not a lot of travel companies do this, but we wanted to start off with adventure tours and we wanted to do things that are out of the box. So financial thing was a very major point for us, and how we did it was we saved up. We saved up our own money. We brought in partners who
So,
so reinvestment and saving is the way to start a startup.
all right. So, Hunan, we just kind of lost you a bit. Was it only me? Can you just come again?
So can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so what I was saying is that we took in people who had some savings and people who had sufficient skills to do an adventure trip, right? Because we had to buy equipment, everything from scratch. We bought it ourselves so that we don't have to give rent, or we don't have to depend on any other person for our own tours. So to start a startup, you need to have savings and then believe in reinvestment. Instead of taking out the money, you keep on reinvesting it. And as you reinvest it, you can see a double or a triple in maybe a month or maybe in a year. But it is, once you have your own assets, it is always going to pay.
All right. So, you started off and you're doing smooth right now to this particular point. So, how has been your operations within the last 6 months? And just give just a duration. So, if so, how long did it take to actually break even and recover the costs? And how, if you have achieved a break even of now, and how is the financial aspect going forward?
Sorry, I didn't get the last question.
So how do you plan on financing it from now on? So, talked about the initial aspect of financing, and, so how do you plan to finance it now going forward? So, like, do you plan to reinvest, or do you plan to borrow? Borrow, if yes, from whom? From family or friends, or from any particular entity, or from an investor?
Okay, so from now onwards, since we have broken even, we have profit, we as partners, we don't actually believe in taking in money from sleeping partners. We believe in people who can actually work to add value to the business. So most of our investment from now onwards is going to be from our reinvestment from the profit. Plus, if there is someone who has a skill that is unique, then we take them in and we take an investment with them. So it is a commitment to us, and we always take in people who are here for long term.
That's a sustainable model, that I must say, right?
Yeah, I feel this is the most sustainable way to go along.
Reinvesting your own resources, that's actually a way that you can actually, cater for everyone and
Because
produce a win for everyone.
let me add a point to it. Like the COVID hit, right? It was right when we were actually starting out our official trips, formal trips. So we had 3 trips or 4 trips on our portfolio, and the COVID hit. It was March, and our first trip got cancelled, and the second trip got cancelled, and then the lockdown started. So we didn't have to worry much about it because we had our assets, we had our investment, and the investment was saved into things that won't deteriorate or won't need any reconditioning during the time it is not being used. So that is how and we also didn't have to worry about paying back any investments because it was our own money.
Right. So you weathered the COVID crisis better, and that's point to be noted, guys. Reinvest in your own business and reinvest savings so that everyone is happy at the end of the day. What Hunan is doing, what I can infer is that it's a sustainable model that actually caters the human resources more to create service and value for everyone and the customers and clients involved. That's pretty impressive, Hunan. Mr. Fahim, financing from now on, how do you plan to go about that? Actually,
Okay.
I
So
just
about
need
the
to mention
financing part,
I need to mention that Fahim has got some huge clients on board as well. So Fahim, if you feel like, you can actually tell about your clients to everyone in the audience as well.
Sure. So basically about I think I'll start with the financing part. Basically, the financing part is not of much a problem right now for my business, because right now we're catering to almost like 7 to 8 A-list companies of which includes Q Mobile, Packages Mall, Virgin as well. So the finances is not as much of an issue as the quality of the work is right now, because since COVID everything has been turned to digital, and digital requires a good amount of effort, a good amount of quality. So yeah, what we are right now focusing on, and the main focus of my personal focus is on improving the quality of the work and benchmarking it to the level where we can compete with other companies in Pakistan. So that is the main focus right now. Besides,
All right. So Fahim, that so right. You mentioned about the main focus of financing forward, right? So how has the entire COVID thing in your own words? How has it affected your own particular business?
so my business was affected very positively by COVID, because the brands they had to shift to digital, from conventional advertisement to digital advertisement because of COVID. So that was a very positive effect on my business, because if I talk about numbers, the numbers tripled overnight, because the brands, they were like, we just want digital advertisement from now on, and that was true. People were shifting to digital. They still are, but so that was that.
Hello. Um, I get it. Is it only me? Okay, I guess to Fahim Crash to reconnect. Miss Farina Siddiqui, gathering funds for the start and going forward. How do you plan to actually go about the cash flows and the finances? How was it from the start, and how do you plan to pursue it ahead?
Right now, the business is just a home business, right? And when we started off with our savings, because you know, for a home-based business, nobody would be interested in investing, and because in an economy like Pakistan, where food businesses are booming, and but COVID happened, so people would be skeptical in investing in anything, right? So we started off with our savings. We bought boxes with it. We bought the things we needed for starting off on Food Panda, and from those earnings we reinvested those profits into our business, and then after we earned enough that we were able to get our own visiting cards, get our own stickers and everything. So, and we started off boosting our Facebook posts through those savings only, like through those profits only. We started reinvesting, because uh, rather than taking out a loan or anything, that wouldn't have been feasible, because when you take off a loan, you have to pay it off too, and you do not know that if the business goes in the right direction or the wrong direction. So it would have been a huge risk, and considering COVID, it actually affected us positively, because people were finding healthy solutions to their to getting meals for COVID patients, and also during lockdown, restaurants were closed, delivery was also not operating. So our business was at that time at its peak in the months of June and July, and moving forward, it has gone. It has become stable, that we have regular customers now, and through that we are financing our business, that we have bought new machinery, new utensils for it.
So, Ms. Farina, you mentioned about how people would order food from, COVID patients in their houses. So, can you just run through your unique product offering and services that have made Afrin's Kitchen into what it is today?
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
So, you talked about how your food and your venture actually became popular among households, and particularly people would order food for COVID patients, as you mentioned, right? So can you just run us through the unique product offering that you have? And I have tasted it, right? You just need to tell the audience as to how what is unique about the product and what is unique about the food that you cook, your mother cooks basically.
The main unique thing is that my family is from the old Delhi. Okay, so we have that Delhi wala taste in our food, and it's authentic korma, and we also provide authentic Indian taste butter chicken, not the handi type butter chicken that's usually provided in restaurants. So that is something unique about the business, and we do not compromise on our quality and quantity, even though during these times of inflation has been rising, prices are increasing, cost is increasing. So we are still aren't compromising on our quality, quantity, and have been with the same prices.
All right. Miss Mahamvakani, finally back to you. So about the financing aspect when you're actually importing makeup from the United States and actually selling it here. And obviously when you're buying in dollars, you're actually selling it in rupees. The financing aspect of the first part, financing from now on, and one thing that with the ban with I'll come back to Hunan as well. For the COVID impact on your particular brand and on your particular venture. How has it been? How has it been dealing all of that whilst being a student at IB as well?
Okay, so when we started off, it was just me and my partner, us two people, and we basically saved up rupees 40,000 each. That made around 80,000, and we started. So when you buy makeup products, one product alone is for 5,000, 8,000, 10,000, right? So if you just look at 80,000, you just get like around 8 to 10 products, and that is nothing compared to how much people actually hoard or save when they're selling makeup. For my cousin in US, he supported us a lot. He actually told us that it's not an issue. We can order right now. We can pay through his card, and whenever we have money, we can pay him back. Which was actually, I think, if it was not for him, we would not be in this position at all. He did not provide us with a. Actually, he gave us like a no deadline debt. So he didn't give us a deadline. He just said whenever it's feasible for you to pay, just pay it off. So for 80,000, we bought makeup for 5.5 lakhs. That is in rupees, not in dollars, obviously. So, and in our first shipment only, we paid it all back. So obviously, like Alhamdulillah, Allah helped us a lot. We made sales of more than 5.5 in our first shipment, and we paid everything off, including shipping, including customs duties, everything. And I still remember the look on my cousin's face when he was like, "You are you actually paying everything off in your first shipment?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's the envelope we can count as well." And he just looked at my mom and he was like, "She is going places, I'm telling you right now." So I think honestly, if it was not for him, I cannot even think about Glam Panda without him right now. So in COVID, our operations actually went really well. I would say we actually saw an increase in our sales by 100%. And because people were at home, they were bored, they didn't know what else to do. A lot of people, they started becoming makeup artists, they wanted makeup. So with that, there was actually like a trend of buying makeup and becoming a makeup artist or a blogger. And because of that, we actually saw that people were investing more in makeup and skincare products. And not to mention, so many people, they just thought if they're at home, why not just focus on their skin and themselves? So that actually resulted in a great increase in our sales. And currently, when I talk about how we are going about with making the page still work and making the business go on, we did not put any more capital in our business since we didn't feel the need for it. We just use our profit. But one thing that we noticed was that our motivation was decreasing because we were not keeping anything for ourselves, because we honestly thought that since we're ordering so much and we keep on have to pay my cousin off, so it was better if we don't take anything out. But then my partner suggested that it's better if we take a minimum amount, that is like 2,000 rupees per person per month, and so that at least our motivation remains intact with the business. So even right now, our monthly income is 7,000 per person, But the motivation that gives, when you're working so much and then you take 7,000 out of the money at the end of the month, that is a good satisfaction. So currently, that's what we're doing. We're not taking a lot out. We're just taking enough so that our motivation remains in the business.
All right, that's quite impressive, Maham. The figures were mind-boggling. And again, this is one regular fixture of Maham. You may think that she is dull, and at the next moment, she'll actually surprise you with your mouth wide open. This is what the story of Maham and me and my friendship has been. So might be surprising for the most of you, for most of us, but it's not surprising for me because I have seen Baham do that time and time and time again. So Hunain, with respect to the COVID impact on the traveling industry and the tourism aspect, we know it has people have started going back, but then again at that particular time when all this lockdown happened and probably the summer, the time when summers approached, that would have been a great source of revenue. So how did you deal with COVID and how is it going along now?
So basically, the start of lockdown, you couldn't have done actually anything because it was almost like curfew. You couldn't go out of house after 7. And so when North was closed, everything was closed. So when by June I started planning off, my whole team started planning off how we're going to go about it. Right? We planned how to put on SOPs, how to make them follow, how to manage the costs along with them. And as the planning came along, again, we started scouting out places. So as after Bakra Eid, I guess, I took my own car and a family member along with me, and I went to scout more places because although travel was not particularly open, it was allowed to travel through. Right, so I took two trips. I did scouting so that the time that is being consumed during the time where you can't travel, you can't arrange trips, you can actually scout and do everything. So because of that, as soon as the travel opened, basically officially travel opened after January and North. So that scouting and everything during the COVID time, it gave us a boost. It gave us an upper hand that we had all the costs before the travel. We had all the arrangements made before the travel, and even right now we have so many trips lined up in March. I don't think I can think of a day that is free before 1st of Ramzan.
All right. That's impressive. We'll have to grant Mr. Fahim an early leave because he's a meeting at 5:30 for the reason that he's in Lahore. So, Mr. Fahim, just last two questions from you. So, one, um, whatever you have learned in academics of now, does it help in your business? And two, any advice for someone who's actually stuttering in between, यार मैं startup पे जाऊँ या मैं पढ़ाई करूँ या मैं दोनों को साथ लेके चलूँ?
Okay, so basically the academics, they haven't been really that much of a help in my line of work. But because since one reason of that can be I started back in my sophomore year, that year, you don't get that's mostly the basics. So I think that can be the reason. But I think till yet the skills and the creative part that has been of great help. But the pure academics, I don't think that those have played a good role in my building this business. Moving on, the advice. The advice I would give, would be to go for the startup, even if it, tangles with your academics, because having a startup and having a business of your own, it teaches you a lot of things. Not just about, the business and the money, it teaches you a lot of things about people as well. You get to meet a lot of people, you get to, talk to a lot of people, and you get to know how people actually operate. Okay? Because when you're friends, when you're, in the daily world, you don't see that that face of the people when the money is involved, and the personal stakes are involved and the stakes are high, then you get to see a lot of faces and a lot of different reactions, and so that is my advice. You should go with the startups, and the academics. They're just academics can help. Academics are nice, but again, having a startup and having a business is one of its kind experience as well.
All right. So, Mr. Fahim, thank you for the lovely insights. Hopefully, Don
Thank you,
Pablo
Hassan, for
will
having me.
build up a great business empire now on. You may go, and best of luck for your meeting, for the potential client that you have. So
Thank you, Hassan. Yeah.
thank you for being with us, being with us here, Mr. Fahim. So Hunan, Farina, and Maham, this we are coming towards the end, wrapping it up. So it's for all three of you to discuss that as academics, as what you've learned in academics, really helped in your operations of business and the way you've conducted it.
Okay, so academics, I would say my area of academics is very specified towards medicine, right? So it can't particularly help you in travel. Although it did help me finding ways through in COVID. It did help me predicting what's going to happen during the time because the specific situation was related to medicine, right? So it helped me in pre-planning everything that by what time, what's going to happen, how are the statistics. So in that particular sense, it did. But again, I wasn't doing any business or business major or any accounting major. So it couldn't have particularly helped me in any way. Although I feel it might have helped my teammates in some ways. There is marketing, there's business, there's accounting and finance, everything. All at the end of the day, thing or another does apply in your business.
Okay, that's really good that it helped you predict and all of that. And now hopefully you're actually going places, as you mentioned that, for example, you completely Miss Farina, Dean's honor list. Tell me what's actually helped you in academics.
Academics has helped to some extent. Like, I'm an accounting and finance student, right? So I can basically make the business's income statement or balance sheet and know that, how much profit are we earning through this. Okay. And learn in being in IBA, we have learned to spam. Okay, so spamming the businesses, promotion, deals, and everything. So you can say to some extent academics has helped, but like I said, I learned graphic designing through YouTube, and I'm a self-taught graphic designer. So that in that area, academics didn't help.
All right, Maham. Do we have Maham with us? Mahavakani?
Yeah, hi.
Yeah.
So
Hello.
basically, if I talk about ACF, I think that ACF to an extent did help, but if I'm being very honest, I don't think it played a very vital role in what I'm doing with Glam Panda. Like, yes, it's really easy for me to make balance sheets and all, and to do ratio analysis. But when I talk about what actually helped me, I think it would have been more about exchange rates and more about how to use business operations with exchange rates. That I don't think there's a course at IBA regarding that. So yeah, I don't think my degree helped me to an extent with it. I don't.
Okay, so just an open dice to all of you, three of you. Any advice that you would actually provide to students that who are like, यार डिग्री करने के बाद करते हैं यार डिग्री के बाद जॉब कर लेते हैं यार दोनों साथ में करें कि नहीं यार लोग क्या सोचेंगे यार करूं कि नहीं any advice to people that are sitting in the audience?
I honestly think that if you think you should start something, there will never be a right time. Because whenever you want to start something, कोई ना कोई बोलेगा नहीं अभी ये कर रहे हो, अभी वो कर रहे हो, घर में ये हो रहा है, घर में वो हो रहा है. There's never going to be a perfect time. If you're thinking of starting something, do it. इतना नहीं सोचो, you need to do it because the more you think about it, the more you're going to get scared and the more you're going to get cold feet. And I've honestly thought of it a lot. I was about to start Glam Panda in AS, and then it took me a year in A2 to make the entire plan, and it actually started in IBA in my first semester when I was starting IBA. So you can imagine, and even when I was starting, so many friends of mine and even my family, they were like, we know you can do it, we don't have any doubt about that, But do you really want to do it when you're studying? Why not start it after you graduate? Because you'll have more exposure, you'll have more connections. You know, you're going to be at a better position if you talk about your education as well. Because doing it with education is hard. It's like a two full-time job. So, which I agree to, but then I think there's no perfect time. If you want to do it, do it. And I'm glad I did, because had I started Glam Panda right now when I'm in my third year, I would be I would not be, I think, so involved in it, and I would not be able to focus so much on it. But I think that the 3 years where it existed, it actually taught me a lot, which I could implement during my studies and in my studies. So yeah, there's no perfect time. You should start and stop overthinking.
That's blunt, and that's the way Maham actually is.
Actually, yes, that is me.
That is Maham Vakani, OG. Oh my God. Okay. Farina, Hunain, let's start with Hunain. We'll come to Farina.
Okay, so yeah, I do agree with her that there is never the right time or the wrong time. You should just start when you want. But also always plan it out, because there are millions of startups starting in the world at every day, right? So planning it out and having a bit of experience before you go along. Like any kind of business, you need to stimulate your mind to think about what could go wrong and where you want to be in a few years. So planning and not worrying about the right time. These are the two things. I feel this is the most important part of going for a startup.
Fair enough of that. That's excellent advice. And then Miss Farina, last but not the least.
Like Maham and Hunain said, I would say the same thing, that you actually have to take the first step, because you wouldn't know until you started कि अच्छा जाएगा या और या नहीं, because um, until and unless you take the first step is to start it off. If you do not, you wouldn't know that people would not support you in the start, and that is what we've seen, because you know that not everyone would be happy with what you're doing, and you might not get the support you're expecting. But if and when you start it off and people see your success, then they start supporting you. And I would just say that just take the first step, because that is the most important step. I say this to my friends too, that if you are good at it, then start it off. You do should not care what other people are actually thinking about you at that time.
Okay, that's the theme of the entire discussion. I'm just closing it out. Just before I close out, Ms. Bhatt, do you have anything to ask or anything to add?
I think you pretty much covered everything.
Just on a closing note for our audience. So basically, we had 4 brilliant entrepreneurs with us, and I would like to thank them. And what they actually told, what they actually told us, and they actually told about their ventures was that you don't have to have a right age or the right kind of experience in order to start. Bootstrap, you get the resources from the savings. The savings was the main theme out of this savings, and doing it with all your own resources, and then expanding rapidly, bit by bit, step by step. And then all of a sudden you hit the jackpot, and then even then you remain humble. As in the example of Hunain, sustainability is the key, and that is pretty much the reason that they were able to get the COVID off in those particular times. With respect to Farina, a minimalistic startup operating from the 4 walls of her own house, collaborating with even with the deliveries. She's actually using Bikea and the services. So basically, people from that end are also benefiting as well. So they're actually bootstrapped and actually went on with their own venture, utilizing the thing that they usually encounter the most, that is food in their home. With respect to Maham, she told us, whatever you have, make the most of the opportunity that you have. 5.5 lakhs, if I'm not wrong, and she made the amounts drop with a wow. So basically, there's no right age. Basically, you can actually start if you all you need is to dare is to do, The courage is the key. It is essential. The confidence is essential. Gather in your resources, your bird in hand, and your resources with respect to money, with respect to time, and you can actually build something that is quite big and that actually find prosperous. I would like to wish four of you. Fahim is gone. I would like to wish Farina, Hunain, Maham, best of luck for you for the future. We'll actually be sharing the Facebook links to your pages. Any questions from the audience that you'd like to ask from either Maham, Farina, or Hunain?
I think Hunain has something to say. Hunain, would you like to go on? Your hand is raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one more thing. I just wanted to add one more thing, which was, although just keep believing, no matter something is coming or not. We have had dry phases too. You don't get business for months or two, and you start worrying. You can panic, you can worry, but at the end of the day, just keep working for it. Keep going on. No matter if there is no fruit coming out of it, just know if you have earned before, you can earn again too.
I just add to what Hinan said. There's no such thing as failure. All it's either you win or you learn, and that is what experience is. Experience is the ultimate teacher. Experience is the ultimate motivator. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Farina. Thank you, Hunain. Thank you, Maham. And thank you, Fahim, for being a part of this lovely discussion. It was quite insightful and it delivered what it was meant to. I hope you all learned a thing out of it. And hopefully, Farina, Maham, and Fahim, whenever you meet me, your token of appreciation and have some and a gift. I'll tell you what is later. Ready with me? Do have a look at it and you have to take it. As for Hunain, I'll coordinate with Afaq and he'll communicate it to you. So we just 1 minute and we're done in time. Thank you so much. Thank you for the audience. You've been a lovely audience throughout. Thank you for being with us. Anything to add, Misbah?
If anyone would like any questions for our entrepreneurs, someone from the audience, anyone would like to go ahead?
Anyone? To just check that the agenda has been quite clear and I've been receiving direct messages that, you know what, please continue this particular series and it's a good initiative. Thank you everyone for the love. Your support has meant a lot to me and hopefully we'll actually go for and take it to the next level. Thank you so much, Farina, Hunain, and Maham. It was really nice chatting to you. Thank you so much. It's been a lovely session. It's been a lovely day. Thank you for taking out of your crunch times, even with Maham, who's at her at her Nani's house, and Farina, who actually made way out of a barbecue party at her home, and Hunain, who's actually taken time and attended the session. Thank you. The audience is quite grateful to you and actually quite grateful of you. Thank you for being here. It really meant a lot. I'll have the token sent to you. Take care and best of luck for your ventures. And I'll share the links so that everyone can access to them. Any last messages?
Thank you, Hassan. It was honestly an honor to be here. It's really rare for people to recognize other people who are doing good. And you gave us the power to come here and to share our experiences. So thank you for giving us and providing us with that opportunity.
It's a pleasure, Maham. It's a pleasure. And that's clap for all four of you for having actually done this entirely.
Thank you so much for this session, Hassan, and the rest of the team, and just really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. Pleasure, Farina. Anything?
Okay, I would just say that everyone in the audience should go and support all the small businesses because all the startups require a lot of following and a lot of reviews. So go ahead and follow Comaware Tours.
We'll share the links on the Facebook page after this. Thank you everyone. Thank you for attending. It's been a nice time. Take care. Allah Hafiz.
Hafiz.